When a woman loses a good man, she doesn't just lose love. She loses peace, loyalty, and the man who truly saw her. At first, freedom feels sweet, but soon silence speaks louder. Reality hits when she realizes attention isn't affection, and no one loves like he did. When a woman is loved by a good man, she often becomes accustomed to the comfort he brings. His steady presence, his calm voice, and his consistent actions begin to feel normal, almost expected. The small gestures, the gentle understanding, and the silent sacrifices become part of daily life. And without realizing it, she begins to take that goodness for granted. It's not that she intends to, it's that the heart sometimes forgets the rarity of genuine care when it's surrounded by it every day. A good man gives without asking for recognition. He doesn't shout his love from rooftops or demand constant validation. His loyalty is quiet, his affection steady, and his effort constant. He notices her moods, understands her silence, and supports her even when she's difficult to love. He stays when things are hard, speaks with respect when tempers rise, and gives her the security that most people spend their lives chasing. But the tragedy lies in how easily such love gets overshadowed by familiarity. What once felt special starts to feel ordinary, and that's where the slow decay begins. She starts focusing on what he doesn't do instead of remembering all that he does. She begins to crave excitement over stability, attention over intention, and validation from others over the quiet certainty of his love. The very traits that make him rare, his calmness, maturity, patience, start being mistaken for emotional dullness or lack of passion. The world outside constantly promotes thrill over peace, chaos over consistency, and temptation over trust. And in that noise, many women fail to see the gold in the man who has already given them everything money or beauty can't buy. But taking goodness for granted always comes with a silent cost. Over time, the man who once tried so hard begins to withdraw, not out of resentment, but out of exhaustion. He learns that no amount of effort can make someone value what they refuse to see. He stops over-explaining, stops over-giving, and slowly reclaims the love he was pouring into someone who no longer noticed it. His absence isn't sudden. It's gradual, and by the time she realizes it, the connection has already faded beyond repair. Then comes the moment when she looks back and sees everything clearly. The way he protected her peace, the way he cared without conditions, and how his love asked for nothing but appreciation. She remembers his kindness, his patience, his efforts, all the things she dismissed as ordinary. That's when reality hits hardest. Because she realizes that she didn't just lose a man, she lost the version of herself that was loved purely and genuinely. Taking goodness for granted is easy, but rebuilding it once it's gone is nearly impossible. A good man's love is not loud, but its absence is deafening. And when she finally understands what she once had, it's no longer there to hold her, forgive her, or come back again. In today's world, the illusion of options has become one of the most powerful distractions in relationships. Constant attention from social media, validation from strangers, and the idea that something better might be just one message away has created a false sense of abundance. Many women begin to believe they can always find someone more exciting, more handsome, more successful, or more expressive. This illusion blinds them to the truth, that genuine connection, emotional safety, and unconditional loyalty are not replaceable commodities. They are rare treasures that can't be duplicated no matter how many people show interest. When a woman has a good man, someone who listens, understands, and stands by her through storms, she often starts comparing him to fleeting images of other men online or exaggerated ideals created by fantasy. She begins to think maybe she deserves more excitement, more drama, more intensity. What she doesn't realize is that most of those options are built on surface attraction and short-term validation, not long-term peace. The good man who is already in her life might not flood her with grand gestures or empty words, but his love is real, grounded, and dependable. That's something temporary attention will never provide. The illusion of options feeds the ego but starves the soul. It convinces her that she can always replace love, that losing someone good isn't the end because someone new will fill the space. But every time she chases temporary validation, she loses a piece of something deeper. The thrill of new attention fades quickly, and the realization sets in that what she let go of, the calm presence, the genuine concern, the quiet loyalty, isn't easy to find again. It's then she starts to see that the world offers many faces, but very few hearts capable of real love. A good man never competes for attention. He doesn't beg to be chosen over distractions because he knows his worth doesn't depend on who fails to see it. When he starts feeling like he's being compared or replaced emotionally, he slowly steps back. He understands that love isn't about proving value. It's about mutual respect and recognition. And once he leaves, she begins to see how shallow the illusion truly was. The countless options no longer excite her because none of them offer the depth, safety, or peace that one real connection brought. Eventually, reality replaces illusion. The constant attention starts to feel empty. The messages that once boosted her confidence now feel meaningless. And in that quiet moment of clarity, she realizes that she traded something irreplaceable for something temporary. The illusion fades, and what remains is the truth. That not all attention is love, not all options are real, and not everyone who wants her actually values her. The illusion of options disappears the moment she understands that genuine love doesn't compete. It's either recognized and cherished or lost forever. When a good man begins to withdraw, it doesn't happen with loud arguments, harsh words, or dramatic exits. It happens quietly, subtly, and almost invisibly at first. His energy changes before his presence does. He still shows up, still smiles, still listens, but something in his eyes begins to fade. It's not that he stops caring overnight. It's that he's finally realized his effort no longer holds the same value. For too long, he's tried to communicate his needs, show his love, and prove his worth, but his efforts were met with indifference or taken for granted. Eventually, even the kindest heart grows tired of giving without being seen. A good man rarely announces his breaking point. He doesn't scream for attention or make a scene. He simply begins to protect his peace. He starts speaking less, not because he has nothing to say, but because he has learned that his words no longer make a difference. The good morning texts slow down, not out of spite, but because he feels the lack of enthusiasm in return. He stops trying to fix what's broken, realizing he's the only one still fighting for it. His silence becomes his final act of communication, a quiet declaration that he's done being invisible in a place where he once gave everything. The woman, at first, may not notice it. She mistakes his calmness for detachment, his distance for disinterest. She might even believe he's being cold or emotionless. What she doesn't see is that his silence is full of emotion. Disappointment, pain, and the exhaustion of carrying a relationship alone. A good man doesn't walk away because he stopped loving. He walks away because he finally accepts that love cannot survive without mutual respect and effort. As his withdrawal deepens, she begins to feel the emptiness he leaves behind. The things she once dismissed, his questions, his care, his consistency, start to disappear one by one. The comfort of his presence turns into the discomfort of absence. And then it hits her. He's not ignoring her. He's healing himself. He's reclaiming the parts of him he gave so freely. The same silence she once overlooked now feels heavier than words ever could. When a good man withdraws, he doesn't do it to punish. He does it to preserve what's left of his dignity. He's not walking away to make her chase him. He's walking away because he's realized chasing love that doesn't see him is self-betrayal. His silence isn't cruel. It's sacred. It's the boundary that says, I've done enough. And when he's finally gone, she realizes the depth of that silence. It's not empty. It's full of everything he wanted to say, but knew she'd never understand until he stopped speaking altogether. That's the moment the reality of his absence truly begins to echo, louder than any goodbye ever could. Appreciation often arrives when it no longer matters, when the moments to express gratitude have passed, and the person who once gave their heart has already walked away. When a woman loses a good man, the weight of what she took for granted begins to press on her slowly but powerfully. At first, she doesn't notice the absence. She believes he'll always be there, that his patience has no limit, and his love will keep waiting. But over time, reality begins to reveal itself. In the silence where his voice used to be, in the emptiness where his consistency once lived. It's only then that she begins to see the value of everything she once dismissed. The truth is, appreciation doesn't mean much when the person it's meant for has already grown weary. A good man doesn't leave because he stopped loving. He leaves because he finally realizes his love has turned into effort without recognition. He gave his time, his understanding, and his devotion, not because he had to, but because he wanted to see her happy. But when every act of kindness is overlooked, every sacrifice taken for granted, and every effort met with silence, even the most patient soul begins to fade. And once he's gone, the woman is left to reflect on all the times she could have said thank you, but didn't. Regret is a powerful teacher. It brings clarity that love often clouds. She starts remembering the small things, how he always checked if she got home safe, how he supported her dreams, how he stood by her during her worst moments without judgment. Those little gestures that once seemed ordinary now appear extraordinary. Every memory becomes a reminder of what she lost because she failed to value it in time. The very things she once found boring or too predictable now become the qualities she desperately searches for in others and never finds. By the time appreciation arrives, it often meets an empty space. The man who once waited for her attention has already learned to live without it. He's no longer angry, no longer hoping, he's simply at peace. That's when it hurts the most because his calmness is proof that he has moved on. His silence, once a message for her to notice, now becomes a boundary she can't cross. No amount of regret or apology can recreate the trust and emotional safety that once existed. When appreciation comes too late, it doesn't heal, it haunts. It reminds her that love was never the problem, awareness was. She realizes that a good man doesn't ask for much, just acknowledgement, gratitude, and respect. But when those come after he's gone, they turn into whispers of if only. The irony of love is that we often understand its worth only in its absence. And by then the lessons remain, but the person doesn't. When a good man finally walks away, the emotional shock that follows hits deeper than most expect. It's not just the pain of losing someone, it's the sudden realization of what was truly lost. At first, she may feel confusion, denial, or even anger. She might convince herself he'll return like before, that it's just another phase. But with time, the truth begins to sink in. He's not coming back this time. The silence becomes real, and in that silence, every moment she overlooked, every word she dismissed, and every effort she failed to appreciate comes rushing back. The shock isn't only about his absence, it's about the weight of her own actions echoing through it. For a woman who once had a good man, the emotional shock is a confrontation with her own choices. It's the first time she truly sees herself from the outside, the moments she was distant when he tried to connect, the times she was cold when he was kind, the way she minimized his pain while demanding her own to be understood. This realization is heavy because it forces her to face something most people run from: accountability. She can no longer blame him for not trying hard enough or for leaving too soon. Deep down, she knows he left after trying too long, after giving everything he could, and after having nothing left to prove. Accountability doesn't come instantly. It comes through reflection. It often begins when she starts comparing the attention she gets now to the love she once had. She notices that new faces bring temporary excitement but lack depth. Compliments sound sweet but feel empty. No one understands her the way he did, not because others can't, but because she once had someone who truly tried. And when she finally admits that she was loved by a man who deserved better treatment, the guilt becomes almost unbearable. It's not just heartbreak, it's self-awareness born out of loss. Taking accountability means acknowledging that losing him wasn't just bad luck. It was a consequence. It means admitting that her pride, ego, or emotional immaturity pushed away someone who was never trying to hurt her, only love her. This kind of honesty isn't easy. It forces her to take responsibility for the ways she may have sabotaged something pure. But this stage, though painful, is also transformative because when accountability is embraced, growth begins. The emotional shock of losing a good man is the universe's way of forcing a woman to pause and reflect. It's the moment she learns that love doesn't survive without effort and that good people don't wait forever to be valued. It's a harsh but necessary awakening, one that teaches her that accountability isn't punishment. It's the first step toward becoming someone who will never take genuine love for granted again. After losing a good man, there comes a quiet phase that feels heavier than heartbreak. It's the reality of emotional emptiness. At first, she may try to distract herself. New conversations, social media attention, parties, or casual connections may seem like a way to fill the void. For a short while, it even works. She feels seen, wanted, maybe even admired. But late at night, when the noise fades, the emptiness becomes undeniable. None of those new faces understand her pauses, none sense her moods, and none love her without conditions. The emotional safety that once surrounded her has vanished, replaced by the shallow noise of attention that never touches the soul. The reality of emotional emptiness hits when she realizes that what she misses isn't just the man, it's the peace he brought. His presence once made her feel grounded, seen, and safe. He didn't need to constantly reassure her because his actions did that effortlessly. His consistency was his love language, and his loyalty was his quiet promise. But at the time, it felt too calm, too predictable. She mistook peace for boredom and excitement for passion. Now, in his absence, she begins to see the difference. The people who once seemed exciting suddenly feel empty because they only know how to offer attention, not connection. Emotional emptiness isn't loud, it's subtle. It creeps in slowly as she realizes that no one checks in without wanting something in return. No one listens without interrupting. No one loves without keeping score. She starts to crave the depth she once took for granted. The man who didn't just talk, but truly heard her. Every conversation she has now feels surface level because it lacks the emotional intimacy she once had. She begins to understand that emotional connection is rare, and once lost, it's not easily replaced. This emptiness also exposes her own role in its creation. She begins to see how her indifference, pride, or distractions made her lose something genuine. She starts to recognize that while she was busy chasing validation, she was being loved deeply, just quietly. Now the quiet feels unbearable because it's no longer filled with love, only regret. The emptiness becomes a mirror, reflecting not what she lost, but what she failed to value. In this stillness, she learns that attention is easy to find, but emotional safety is rare. That peace doesn't come from people who flatter you, it comes from those who understand you. The realization is painful but awakening. Emotional emptiness is not a punishment, it's clarity. It's life showing her the difference between being wanted and being cherished, between being admired and being understood. And once she truly feels that void, once she understands that no amount of attention can replace emotional depth, she finally grasps what it means to lose a good man who once filled her heart with a love that no one else can replicate. Pain is a powerful teacher. It has a way of reaching places that comfort never could. When a woman loses a good man, the pain that follows can feel unbearable, heavy, confusing, and endless. But hidden beneath that suffering is a quiet opportunity for transformation. Growth never begins in moments of joy. It begins in the silence after loss, when the heart finally confronts itself. She starts to realize that pain isn't just punishment, it's revelation. It strips away illusions, ego, and pride, leaving behind only the truth of who she is and what she truly values. In the beginning, she might resist the pain. She distracts herself, denies it, or blames others. But pain has patience. It waits until she slows down, until she's finally ready to feel everything she avoided while she still had him. The memories start replaying, not as nostalgia, but as lessons. Every time she ignored his efforts, every time she dismissed his feelings, and every time she mistook his calmness for weakness becomes part of her reflection. Pain, in its rawest form, becomes her mirror. It forces her to see herself honestly, not as a victim of heartbreak, but as someone who now understands the cost of taking love for granted. Growth through pain doesn't happen all at once. It happens quietly, in the moments when she learns to sit with her regret instead of running from it. She starts asking different questions, not why did he leave, but what did I fail to see? She begins to recognize that love isn't about possession, it's about appreciation. She realizes that emotional maturity means valuing consistency over excitement, effort over perfection, and presence over promises. These lessons, though born from heartbreak, slowly rebuild her into someone stronger, softer, and wiser. Over time, the pain that once felt unbearable begins to transform into understanding. She starts forgiving herself, not to erase the past, but to learn from it. The sadness becomes quieter, replaced by gratitude, gratitude for the experience, for the lessons, and even for the loss. Because through that pain, she learns how to love differently. She learns that true love isn't something to control or demand, it's something to nurture and protect. The woman who once took peace for granted now craves it. The one who once chased validation now seeks connection. Pain reshapes her from within, molding her into someone capable of recognizing and cherishing love when it comes again. Growth through pain is never easy, but it's always necessary. It teaches that losing a good man isn't the end, it's the awakening. It's the soul's way of saying, you had to break to understand. Through that breaking, she discovers her strength, her depth, and her capacity to love more consciously. And that is where true healing begins, not in forgetting the pain, but in becoming better because of it. Understanding true worth often comes only after loss. When a woman loses a good man, she begins to see what real value looks like, not in the material things or superficial gestures, but in the quiet strength of his love, the peace he brought, and the emotional safety she once lived in without realizing its depth. True worth isn't about how exciting someone makes you feel. It's about how calm, secure, and seen they make you. It's about realizing that being loved genuinely is a privilege, not a guarantee. The tragedy is that most people only grasp this truth when it's gone, when the absence of peace makes them crave what they once overlooked. At first, she might focus on the surface, his absence, his silence, the way he no longer checks in or shows concern. But slowly, the emotional weight sets in. She begins to see the difference between being admired and being valued. Admiration fades with time, but value stays constant. She remembers how he made her feel understood without needing to explain herself, how his patience carried her through her chaos, how his loyalty never wavered even when she wasn't easy to love. These realizations strike deeply because they reveal something most people avoid acknowledging: that true worth is not found in who gives the most attention, but in who gives the most peace. Understanding true worth also means recognizing one's own mistakes. She begins to see that she measured love by temporary emotions instead of long-term consistency. She valued excitement over effort, attention over intention. The good man she lost wasn't perfect, but his love was real. It came from a place of honesty and maturity, and when she finally understands that kind of love, it changes how she views everything. The temporary highs of new attention start to feel meaningless because they lack depth. She realizes that no one else loves with the same authenticity because very few know how to love without self-interest. The process of understanding true worth also involves humility. It means admitting that she didn't appreciate what she had when she had it. It means realizing that love requires more than feelings. It demands awareness, gratitude, and emotional responsibility. When she finally accepts that truth, she starts to grow. She becomes more intentional with her energy, more selective with her time, and more careful with the heart she holds. True worth is quiet but powerful. It doesn't seek validation, it doesn't compete, and it doesn't demand attention. It simply exists, steady, reliable, and unshakable. And when she finally understands this, she learns that losing a good man wasn't just about heartbreak, it was about awakening. Because only through loss does she truly see that love built on respect, patience, and peace is priceless, and that recognizing such worth in time is the greatest wisdom love can teach. In the end, losing a good man becomes one of life's most powerful awakenings. It teaches that love is not measured by thrill, but by peace, not by attention, but by consistency. A good man's absence reveals what his presence once protected: loyalty, emotional safety, and unconditional care. Through pain, regret, and reflection, a woman learns that real love is not loud, but lasting. It's the kind of love that demands appreciation, not perfection. And once she understands this truth, she carries it forward, wiser, softer, and forever changed by the man who showed her what genuine love truly means.